Good morning and welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just by the bar, on the other side of the bar there's a sign-in sheet. We'd ask you to fill that out. And there is also an agenda there. So if you'd like to follow the proceedings, that would be great. We have a couple of consent action items to start with. Oh, better introduce you. That's right. Starting with Jenny Chambers, our Director of Public Works and Planning. Then Brandi Grande, our Recording Secretary, who keeps track of our proceedings. Commissioner Andy Hunthausen. I'm Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission. And Commissioner Candace Payne. Nico Hash from the County Attorney's Office. And Roger Baltz, Chief Administrative Officer. Thank you. All right, let's start with consent action items. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. On your agenda today, this is under items 2A and 2B. Item 2A is public meeting minutes for January 22 and 27, 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item. The next item is item 2B, Resolution 2026-9, declaring county property surplus property, and staff recommends approval of that item as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. Are there any questions from the Commission about those two consent action items?
No, sir.
Is there any public comment? Any public comment? There being none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve consent action items 2A and B as presented.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the two consent action items, 2A and 2B, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is an action item, Department Director Updates. And this is an opportunity for department directors to give us some information about what's going on, and also to give to the public information about what's going on in the different departments. And I'm just going to go down the list, and if you come up, we'll still have to have you introduce yourselves for the public record, even though we know you well. So I'm just going to go down the list. I'm going to start with Emergency Management, Kyle Sturgill-Simon.
Asking me to sign in for PowerPoint. Same. Apologies.
Apologies for the delay there. My name is Kyle Sturgill Simon. I'm the emergency manager for Lewis and Clark County. And IT will be up here in a little bit to talk about security, which I just had to go through several layers of. So, alrighty. So for today, I just have a few slides, but I did want to have an opportunity to discuss an emergency that we declared back in December. We had a winter windstorm event. It impacted dang near most of western Montana all in one day. Affected us quite a bit in terms of our emergency response. And the county did do an emergency declaration recognizing that resources were stretched pretty thin by the widespread impact of that event and the need for potentially asking for state, maybe even federal resources. The nice thing about weather events is that we usually get a little bit of a heads up. Our partners at National Weather Service were giving us very frequent weather updates. And by the day before, actually a couple days before, they were calling what was coming a potentially historic wind event. We listen to a lot of weather briefs, and whenever the Weather Service uses the word historic, we get a little bit excited about it because it usually means that we're going to need to respond in some way or another. So the day before the wind was expected to arrive, we put a notice out to all of our emergency response partners and our local emergency planning committee, as well as our COAD, the Community Organizations Active in Disaster. That's kind of our way of casting out the information to as wide of an area as possible, and then make sure that they know how they can get a hold of us if they need anything. So the day before the wind event took place, we did send an email out, got a hold of our partners, told them now's the time for enacting any of your emergency plans that you may have in place. And if you have any needs or need assistance with anything, to let us know. And so day of, sure enough, the wind did arrive. It was a little bit gusty and windy during the first half of the day. I even heard one person say like, oh, this isn't that bad. And I had to say, well, the forecast is for early this afternoon. And sure enough, between about 10 and 2, we were having gusts, or our average wind speed was about 42 miles per hour. And then after 2, it started to die off a little bit, but we still had some pretty strong gusts. Originally, we were told at the airport that the highest gust was at 81 miles per hour. The National Weather Service actually went out to that weather station and pulled the raw data and recalculated, and they updated that to 91 miles an hour. So we had a gust in town of 91 miles an hour. And actually, we gave a lot of kudos to the National Weather Service. That was spot on with the forecast that they had given us a couple days before for what to expect. We sent a survey out after this event, and the majority of the damages that people sustained across the county were to trees. Definitely saw a lot of trees come down. Roofs either damaged by those trees or shingles pulled off by the wind or anything loose pulled up by the wind itself. And then our power infrastructure. We were without power for a couple of days in parts of the county. Marysville, I think, was the last community to get power turned back on. And the Wolf Creek area had power off for a couple of days as well as a few lingering spots in the city. We actually helped our COAD open a shelter on the second day of having no power, so that just in case, if somebody definitely needed a place to go, either to recharge medical devices or just have a place to be safe and secure for a little bit. So there was a shelter open for one night. Thankfully, neighbors helping neighbors took care of everything that we ran into, and so we didn't have to put anybody up in the shelter. There's some numbers there from dispatch just to kind of show how busy of a day it was. It really didn't ramp up until afternoon, but they saw 300% more calls that day than normal. So 1,029 calls. 131 of them were for down power lines. That also kind of contributed to the road hazard calls as well. We had 9 vehicle rollover calls. So the interstate had a decent number of people hauling trailers that the wind either pushed them off the road, blew them over outright, or caused an accident. And then 98 public safety and road hazards. And these are where there are power poles across the road, trees across the road, signage. There was a lot of damage to signage as well. So that's kind of what we were seeing. So again, the county did do an emergency declaration. We reached out to our state partners at that point to let them know what the conditions were like. Even with all that damage that happened, we actually came out of it a little bit better than a lot of our neighbors farther to the west. In the west, where they had had recent flooding, the soaked ground caused a lot more tree damage, larger trees that you would not expect to come down due to windstorms. The ground just wasn't holding them as well, which was a little bit bizarre for December. So they had a lot more damage in other counties than we did. I think all told, there were about 28 counties that declared in one way or another either an emergency or a full-out disaster. I just have this one slide for the incident. We did do an after-action review in which we bring in all of our first responder partners, talk about how the event itself unfolded, and we always look for little ways that we can improve. And we have notes on that, and we're kind of getting a little bit more together on it. And we'll probably be following up with a presentation maybe to the joint city council because the city probably had the brunt of the response to the windstorm. And so we just like to make sure that we kind of caught everybody's feelings about it. So are any questions about the windstorm before I move to the next slide?
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so this is a little bit different of a topic, but it's something that I wanted to make sure the commission was aware of. We're seeing that there are already some major changes to emergency management and how it's funded, how it's ran, what the expectations are. And this is statewide and nationwide. So currently, there are conversations about what are sustainable ways to fund future emergency management efforts. The Emergency Management Performance Grant up there is a grant that we've relied on in the past. We don't budget expecting it anymore because we knew there was some turbulence coming down the road. But this is a grant that is awarded by FEMA to the state. It's a population-based grant, so it's based on the number of people that we have in the state. And it goes towards emergency management, both for the state and for counties. The state has a fairly large team, and it's larger now than it has been in the past, and they use this grant for their own funding. And then they pass through what remains to the counties. The state has always been remarkably good at being able to pass through quite a bit. I think in the grand scheme of things, across the 50 states, Montana's probably able to pass through more of this grant to the local jurisdictions than a lot of other states. In fact, a lot of states don't pass through any. But because of some changes in FEMA support, the state has had to increase size of their teams to be able to provide some of the same resources. And that has dug into that FEMA funding. So currently, the last year's award is still pending approval. It's kind of been stalled out. And we do know that in the future, as they are awarded, the state will need to utilize more of it than they have in the past. So funding is something that's been a major conversation in this last year about how does emergency management get a more stable funding source. Next on there is that we've recognized a shift towards stronger statewide mutual aid. We're having that conversation county to county, saying that we might be having to support ourselves for a little bit longer and at a little bit more of an effort than we have in the past, because thresholds for FEMA and federal support are kind of getting changed on us. So in the past, where you may have had a disaster and been able to expect a FEMA-based incident management team to come in, they either may not have one available, or they may expect the disaster to be larger before they'll authorize that team. So it might be kind of fending for ourselves a little bit longer. In response to that, there's conversation about development of a system similar to wildfires that would allow for resource management statewide. And in wildfire, if you're working a fire and you need more of a certain type of truck, or you need a certain type of personnel, there's a whole network, and you call in and you ask for that specific resource, and they can go in and they can see who has it, and then they can order it for you. In emergency management, it's not quite as rigid and set up. It's a little bit more about, most of the resources available to the county are in the phone book. We're looking at maybe standardizing that system a little bit, so it's easier for a county in time of disaster to say exactly what it is they need, put it into the system, and get those resources ordered. So that's another conversation that's happening right now. And another thing that we're looking at, we do see that there's a reduced capacity at FEMA for recovery with a big R. Usually after a declared disaster at the local level and a president or a governor's declared disaster, we submit to the president for a presidentially declared disaster. And that comes with FEMA recovery funds and FEMA recovery support. And those thresholds are being changed. Used to be across the state, if you had a disaster that cost over about $2 million, you could expect to get some federal support. We're expecting that threshold to maybe be as high as $10 million now in the future, but we're not sure. And we have seen that already. Lincoln County had a flooding disaster in December. Current estimates are at $10 million worth of damages. And that was not approved as a presidential disaster declaration. It was instead approved as a presidential emergency declaration. And that's a $5 million pot of fund that goes towards the response and recovery for the local jurisdiction and for the state. So they're going to have to figure out how to divvy that up amongst all the state efforts and the local effort. So all in all, change is not new to emergency management. We're pretty used to it, and we're pretty used to rolling into situations that people haven't had to deal with before. So just wanted to give the commission an update. There are a lot of changes going on, and we in the emergency management world are trying to be proactive about it and being engaged, and hopefully be part of the changes that take place so that we can make it better. And that's where we're at. There will probably be future MACO conversations about this because of its impact to the counties, and the Montana Emergency Management Association is very engaged with it as well. So,
all right. One of the things that I thought has been kind of interesting was these changes in the funding supply and whatnot, kind of waiting for all that to come together so we know a little bit better. And I think that I appreciate you being on top of that. The other thing that I've noticed is the cross-training, the opportunity to go out and have staff go out and spend some time in actual disasters and learn a little bit more how to deal with it. And would you mind mentioning that a little bit?
yes, Commissioner, thank you for bringing that up because it's something we're very active and engaged in. So a real world disaster impacting any jurisdiction, we type disasters. So anything above a type 4. A type 4 is like something that requires multiple jurisdictions to respond to, but it's probably over within a day. The windstorm in December, we would pretty solidly call that a type 4 type incident. Type 3s are when they're going to last longer and you need more resources. Type 2s and type 1s usually for hurricane devastated regions. What we're finding is that whenever a community has something like a type 3 where you have an extended response and an extended recovery, no county in Montana can really handle that on their own. They mostly need to call in help. And by kind of getting in front of that, knowing that communities are going to need help at some point, and knowing that we will need help at some point, we've been working on that mutual aid system to not only bring in the resources of people that are really good at what they do, but also bring in people who are interested in getting better at what they do. So Autumn Ashdale, the DES coordinator, she's working with the Montana Emergency Management Association. And whenever a community has a bad day and they're asking for mutual aid, she's actually in touch with people who are looking for experience and looking for opportunities to work on these disasters, and then pairing them up with the people who already have the experience. So the community gets more people coming in to help, and then the people coming in to help get more experience out of it. So that's a pretty neat project that she's working on. And I think that will benefit us greatly in the future because we have that phone book of everybody who wants to help. And so on a bad day when we need help, we'll be able to pull in a lot more.
Great, great. Commissioners, either you have any other questions? All right. Kyle, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. All right, next on our list, and I think it's appropriate with the discussions on funding, is grants and procurement. Ann, if you'll come on up.
Commissioners, good morning. Ann McCauley, Director of Grants and Procurement. I'll start off with our American Rescue Plan Act program this morning. As of our last quarterly report, which ended December 31, our total direct ARPA expenditures are $12.9 million, or 95% of our total obligation. So we are seriously getting there. That leaves us with just over $500,000 to spend between now and the end of December of 2026. We have 7 remaining ARPA projects that are still going, but they're all on deck to be completed by this summer and fall. I do want to note, though, we did receive confirmation in the last U.S. Treasury guidance that administrative costs, these are costs that support Eliza Fiaschetti's position, our ARPA program specialist, as well as our single audit costs, which has been the ARPA program for the last 3 or 4 years, can be expensed through April of 2027. So that's good news. So we'll have some support and some funding to help pay for our FY26 single audit, as well as support Eliza's work to get us all wrapped up. Additionally, Eliza had been working very closely with our finance and accounting and individual departments on the completion of our single audit for FY25, which again was the ARPA program, as well as helping out with the CFA and other parts of that single audit that made it a success. On the grants front, CDBG, we still have our CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant funding available through Montana Department of Commerce, with Craig Water Sewer District on a public facilities grant. The construction has not yet begun. It was hopefully going to start in December, and that got delayed, but it's on deck to start here, I think, in February, early March, as long as the weather has continued to cooperate, at least for that project. And it's still on track to be complete by the summer of 2026. We did receive a CDBG planning award notice in late December. This is for the Lincoln Public Safety and Emergency Operations Center. This planning grant will develop a preliminary architectural report and grant writing services to go towards a CDBG public facilities grant to hopefully do the construction. We did release a request for qualifications this last 2 weeks, so that RFQ is out for architectural services, and that will close in early March. So we hope to have that architect underway. I'm working through the startup conditions right now for the actual award, and I expect to see that in a couple weeks, and we'll bring that before you. Other grant items, I've been working closely with the fairgrounds on their new playground for their old existing playground. Happy to report out that we have met the match on our land and water conservation funds. That was a 1-to-1 match. Huge kudos to Kevin Tenney, the Helena Fairgrounds Foundation, and all of their board members that have been working very diligently on securing that match. We expect to see that Land and Water Conservation Fund award in early April. And then we'll get going on that project, which will hopefully also be done in 2026. And lastly, I'll wrap up with an update on the National Opioid Settlement Funds. I'll start with the direct funds that the county directly receives through those settlements. If you recall, we did sign off on the Purdue Pharma and Sackler family settlement and the manufacturer settlement this last fall. At the time that we signed off, we basically said, yes, we're willing to participate through the state's participation agreement or MOU to be part of those settlements. I did just read yesterday that the Purdue Pharma and Sackler settlement was approved by a judge in November. So I anticipate that we'll hopefully see what our payments and schedule will be for that one in the next couple of weeks or months. That one's going to be fairly sizable for us, about $20,000 a year, somewhere between $17,000 and $18,000, and then the manufacturers will bring that up to about $20,000 total a year, at least for the next 5 to 7 years, and then it starts tapering down. And then as far as the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust funds go, so these are the settlement funds that are being through the state trust. The Lewis and Clark County Metro Opioid Abatement Committee has approved doing a notice of funding availability for those projects and proposals. So these are funds that nonprofits, school districts, hospitals, local government can all apply for. So that NOFA will be twice a year. There'll be one in the spring and one in the fall. The spring NOFA is out right now with applications due March 1st. And if interested watchers want to learn more about that program, they can go to Montana, spelled out, opioid.org. And they can see a copy of that NOFA, see what our local committee's priorities are, and then also sign up to apply through that portal system. And lastly, but not least, procurement. We've had a very strong start for procurement in 2026. Casey has 6 formal solicitations going at any stage right now. Each solicitation, when by formal solicitation, I mean a request for qualifications, request for proposals, or an invitation for bid, requires multiple steps of coordination and scheduling. This can include conducting site visits, setting up 3 to 4 meetings with evaluation team members, which can usually be between 3 to 5 people, setting up offer interviews, and then managing the post-selection evaluations and debriefs. It's usually about a 6 to 8 week process for each of those solicitations, and he has them all lined up so they don't overlap on each other, and we're making sure we're meeting all our compliance requirements. Just a huge kudos to him and an outstanding job he does in scheduling and coordinating all of that work. I do want to note that a recurring comment we hear from offerers, even those that did not receive the award, is that they very much appreciate the transparency and professionalism of our procurement process. I think it's fair to say we are leading our counties across the state in how we conduct our procurement process. It's very predictable. Offerers have the opportunity to ask for debriefs, what happened. And yeah, so that's a great comment that we keep hearing. 18 contract cover sheets were processed. Contracts and contract cover sheets were processed the last 3 months, November, December, and January. This is pretty steady with what we're seeing on a monthly basis, usually between 6 to 8, sometimes more. There's RID snowplow contracts happening. And Casey also updated our contract templates with the updated chair signatory and a few other minor annual updates that we make on those. And those are all available on our intranet site. In addition to procurement, Casey's been working diligently with departments on ensuring our department accounts and invoicing are properly set up with our 2 major marketplaces, which are Amazon Business and Staples Business Advantage. I had hoped to pull some numbers about how much the county spend is on a monthly basis between those two marketplaces, and I wasn't able to get that info before this morning. But we've done some major things with these two marketplaces in the last year, and it's not been without its hiccups and a couple bumps in the road, but we are on the progress road to improvements. And that's, I think, being reflected in what financing is seeing with the invoicing process, as well as just more transparency in how we're obtaining those goods. And that's all I have this morning.
One question, if I might, we're hearing a lot about changes in some of the federal departments about maybe even downsizing some of them. Are we seeing anything where, for instance, health department, where we might have traditionally received federal grants that may be coming in a different way or maybe not available?
Mr. Chair, excellent question. One from the health department here today to speak specifically to grants available through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So far, I haven't seen anything major in a decline in those or a major adjustment in their focus, as Kyle spoke to about FEMA grants. The FEMA program is the one that is, I would say, at this point, looking most like a major change in how they've been doing those funding mechanisms. I have not seen that across the board from other federal agencies at this point, but there's still a lot in play every day.
I just want to, let you know how much I appreciate the diligence you approach the things and the fact that we haven't had to worry about some of these timelines to get things done because you've been overseeing that and doing a very, very great job of it. And I just want to thank you for the good work from your department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there others? Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ann.
Thanks.
From Information Technology Systems, James.
Good morning, Chairman Rolfe. Commissioners, James Thomas, IT City and County Director. This morning, I brought Eric Spangenberg, our GIS Manager. I'll provide a brief summary from the IT department, and then I'm going to have Eric walk through one of the GIS interfaces that he's been working on with the 911 dispatch center. And this will be something that actually interfaces with the citizens out to the public. So to get us started, staffing wise, we have, excuse me, recently hired our newest member for our help desk team. We are becoming Chris-centric again, so we will have 3 Chris's. Chris Fitzpatrick will join us roughly mid-February. Apparently he goes by the nickname of Fitz, so you may be hearing from Fitz if you need assistance. Our security position was re-advertised. They should be in the screening process this week, so we're hoping we get a successful candidate out of that pool. And our technical implementation manager, or Tim, but project type person, we had re-advertised that as an open until filled, and we should get review of the applicants maybe towards the end of this week as well. So we'll see if we get somebody in that one. We did file an after action report very recently, here through January. We had an outage on our internet services. It did affect all services across city and county government. We took a very hard look at why that impacted us so heavily, and we did make an adjustment to our internal procedures to make sure that we can go through an update to our main firewalls and not have an outage again. So hopefully we'll take care of that. Our on-call support, roughly it looks like we have averaged out. We're taking about 10 calls per month, and that's been across about the last 3 months. So most of those for account resets for law enforcement. We provide 24-hour assistance to that one. On some of our bigger tasks, I've made mention a couple times, our network modernization. That was a 3-phase project. We are in finishing up still the last of our phase 2, which is inside all of the 37 buildings that we support. And we are down to the very last handful of devices that we are collecting, fixing, getting connected to the new network. We are ramping up this for a call this Thursday with our support engineer that we bring on that will be assisting us to kick off our phase 3, which is the wireless inside all the buildings. So that will hopefully get us rolling to where we can finally see light at the end of the tunnel with that project. For security awareness training, we feel we're doing very well. Our fourth quarter security awareness training basically ended 2025. We finished up mid-January, and we ended with a 94% completion rate for that fourth quarter training. Across all of 2025, we provided 55 minutes of security training, and for a total across the entire year, we got a 96.5% completion rate. So pretty good, not quite 100%, but very good completion. We've got a few new tasks that we're coming up on. We, just a matter of a month and a half ago, we had brought to you a secondary internet connection that we were looking to implement for the organization. We have successfully gotten connected with that service. So we are running with 2 internet service providers, one through Montana Internet Corporation, which we've had for many years, and we are now connected through CenturyLink Lumen. And so we run both connections simultaneously. We've got some fine tuning to finish up, but we are successfully using both internet providers. This provides redundancy so that if one provider is doing maintenance, we'll still stay connected. Coming up very soon, our replacement phone system project is going to start kicking off. We have some test devices that are going to show up, and we're going to be demoing those with individual departments so that they can see the features and functionality kind of hands-on and make sure that this will provide the service and the functions that they are looking for. And a very new system that we just got integrated with, we are working with county facilities and the detention center staff, and we've kind of been rolled into or wrapped into some assistance to help them stabilize the video system over at the detention center. And so what our goal is just to try to help them make sure that everything that the cameras, they've got roughly 120 cameras throughout the detention center, we're trying to help make sure those are all getting, all doing the correct recordings and that the recordings can be recovered correctly. So before I turn it over to Eric, do you have any questions?
Any questions from any of you? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Eric for a real quick demonstration.
Yeah. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you. Like James said, I'm going to take a moment and give you guys a sneak peek at a project that we have been collaborating with. Should show up on your monitors. Hopefully, this is a collaborative project that we have worked with the combined Helena, Lewis and Clark 911 Communication Center, Dispatch Center. Just how I'll refer to it from now on. And this is a project where we have initiated the steps to get every morning we get a text file of the previous day's calls, and we can take that text file and it has location data in it, and we are able to put that onto a map. And so what we have been doing, we have found that this has given us a valuable opportunity to take a look and internally allow our police department, fire department, sheriff's office, DES folks to start to see all the calls. And what you see in front of you now is what we're going to be proposing to go out to the public with at some point in time after we've had a couple opportunities to demo it to some other folks internally. Right now, this is still internal to our ArcGIS environment. But you see right here, this is a collection of all the calls. Let's highlight here that little high point right there. That's your windstorm that was just brought up. So he said 1,000 calls. This was probably more of the emergency calls versus the regular calls that they got on the non-911 call-in device type of thing. And so this goes back in time roughly to March is when we started getting these files. There was a lag in July where there was a hiccup in getting the files, but as you can see across the board, This is what we're going to be rolling out to the public. And before we get into the questions, I want to show a couple things that we have available. Is that we can filter by any of the responding agencies. So if we take a look, and what you see on the display in front of you changes based on the map display. So as you zoom in on the map, you'll see the calls and you'll see what the type of calls that are happening. And so if we just take a look, for example, at yesterday for the sheriff's office, they had 32 calls across the entire county. We can take a look, and as we zoom in, we can start to see what the calls were. Looked like we have right here a traffic stop. And what I want to point out to you is that while the 911 call will map directly to a physical address, we have taken the additional steps to anonymize this data. And rather than mapping to the address point, we are mapping to the nearest intersection of where that address point. And so where you see that come to life is here in town. If we filter this to, say, the Helena Police Department, what you'll see there is you'll see the calls are all at intersections versus on an individual person structure. We'll go back here to none. You can see what's going on. And right now we have the opportunity to filter by the Helena Police and Fire, our county sheriff's office, East Helena Police, and the St. Peter's Ambulance. The beautiful thing is on the back end is that we have other providers, other emergency service providers that we could also do run analysis for if necessary. And but we just wanted to bring this out. Dispatch did share this with the criminal justice group last week, and we're just real proud of the efforts that we put together here to collaborate with our friends over at 911 at the dispatch center and the ability to get this out. Again, this is showing only the previous day's calls. It is not a real-time application to beat to that first question right there. So this is very similar. You'll see similar sites. Gallatin County's rolled one out. The Bozeman Police Force has. City of Billings has a similar one. We've taken it that extra step of showing pretty much a full year's worth of call data. So. Questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hunt.
Thank you. Interesting stuff. I'm kind of looking forward to this. Just a little bit more about the timeline, what you expect for more testing or more rolling out, and when we might come to the public.
You know, I honestly, I believe we could probably go at any point, really. We have it. The dispatch center has automated their file structure to provide us a file every morning. And right now it's just, we just come in the morning and run one script to update everything. We're testing steps to automate that. So over the weekend, it works as well without someone here, hitting the button to update type of thing. So that's the only thing that's really holding us back. But right now, honestly, I see no problem with this as it is. Like I said, everything's anonymized to an intersection. The call data, when you look at it, this is what you see. You see the date and time, the number of the call, the description, what it was, and just the time to complete it. So whoever got pulled over there spent 6 minutes with one of our deputies. So,
Mr. Chair. So, talking about call data, a traffic stop typically is not a call-in, so those kinds of events are also going to be on the site. So it's calls and
it's basically anywhere where dispatch had something 911, or a call, anything radioed in.
Okay.
That's what you're seeing there. Yeah,
Interesting.
with parking complaint.
That was Commissioner Rolfe, I think. Probably.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to zoom right into your guys' neighborhood.
Yeah. No, thank you. Very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's great.
Right. Any other questions? All right, great presentation, and always looking for new ways to make the information usable and more valuable to everybody. So, thank you very much, and great job in the IT department. I continue to hear good things about your work with both the city and the county, where you provide services for both of us. I think it's saving us both a lot of money. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. It is definitely a team effort.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a comment, not for you guys, for everybody, but it's just kind of has built for me, Kyle, and then Ann, and then James, and your worlds. And you might think, some might think, why are we doing this and having all of these highest paid professionals hanging out here for a couple of hours today? But it's a good example. I think we're really helping the community understand what we do, being able to talk about your departments and the good work that you do for the community, and share it with each other. I think a lot of times we get in our own worlds and often don't learn as much about what the other departments are doing. So I think this is really valuable. I think it gives a snapshot to our community about what we do every day on their behalf and the hard work that's happening. So I just wanted to express my gratitude halfway through here, or however far, a third of the way through these presentations. But I'm just grateful to be a part of this team. I kind of have a little bit of pride going right now for all the stuff we're doing. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Payne.
I just have one comment along the similar lines to what Andy was talking about. Every year we change the chair. And so last year I was the chair. And we also change which committees we go out and sit on, or boards. And it's every year it's a whole new world. What is going on? I've never seen these people. We have so many good people working for us who do understand the problems to that specific entity. And it is so reassuring to know that we have that kind of information available to us. And it's a real service to our community to have that. People may not know exactly what's going on, but there's somebody in our group that is an expert on this issue. And I'm so impressed.
Thank you. And I'd have to agree. Very much so. All right, let's move on to our next one, human resources. Carrie.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Carrie DeRosier, Human Resources Director with the county. Follow up on that, we don't get a lot of opportunity to work directly with the citizens, but we're here to support the great people that do. So just to review some of the things that we're kind of working on or work on in a continual basis. There's a lot that I don't cover on a daily basis of all the details that we do in a day, but overall, just give you a picture of some of the items. Recruitments is a big thing that we handle in our office. Right now, we have 8 jobs that are advertised and we're looking for quality applicants for. We have 8 additional recruitments that are either in the scoring, interview, or reference check phase, or maybe the job offer. We don't have any up and coming right now. So I guess that means we're kind of in a steady area right now. We had 9 new hires for the month of January and 3 terminations, which is a good gap that we're hiring more people than we're losing. So for union negotiations, I've been updating you regularly on in this area. The Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Employees Association contract is the only one we have outstanding right now. They have accepted the county's response to their final proposal and ratified it through member vote. We're finalizing the language, and I'll put it on public meeting agenda as soon as that's complete and as soon as we have the necessary signatures to bring forth. We don't have any complaints or investigations that we're handling right now, so that's also positive. Payroll is a huge function we do within our office. This month, Christina worked on issuing 493 W-2s for the calendar year 2025. She also issued vacation overage letters. We had 36 employees with just over 2,500 hours of excess vacation that needs to be used by March 31st or requested an extension for the year. Those memos have gone to the department heads as well as the employees. Emily's also working on the 1095C forms that are required through the ACA and that employees use for their tax returns. Those are required to go out. March 31st is the deadline for electronic forms, which we do, but she'll have them out by March 1st. Let's see. We also have been working on, or now complete, the change within the HR system of the account number structure. So the changing all the account numbers that we have within Kronos and updating those to the new numbers that are going to be used in financial enterprise system. That was successful. We made all those changes, had the general ledger report revised. So that creates successfully and imported into the new system. So we got that testing done and that complete. And then just an overall kind of interesting fact for anybody. We paid just over $26 million in gross wages for Lewis and Clark County employees in calendar year 2025. On benefits, let's just, we still keep a close eye on the health plan. Our claims paid to date this year were just over $6 million, and that is just slightly lower than last year's claims paid to date at this time by about $85,000. So that's good news. We also look at not just total claims, but average weekly claims to kind of see where we're going to trend out for the year. I look at both total claims paid and then net claims, so that would be less our reinsurance reimbursements for the year. Although we're lower than total claims paid for the year at this point, we've received less reinsurance reimbursements, so overall we're a little bit lower in our average weekly claims if we average that out for the year. So it's kind of good news in that we don't have reinsurance reimbursements, meaning we haven't hit our stop loss deductible yet. But again, it doesn't lower our claims totals for the year. So good news and bad news. The good news is for the future premium costs, hopefully we'll get better renewal numbers for our stop loss insurance next year if we stay on track. On prescription drug, we're working really hard to lower those costs. We've received just under $375,000 in medical and prescription drug rebates for the year. That's just since July 1. We've also had about $58,000 through the first 6 months of the year from our 340B drug program. And that actually amounts to about a 40% savings so far on eligible drugs. We've also identified Prism, who is the vendor that we contracted with a couple years ago in helping reduce some of the costs to our pharmacy program.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You didn't say prison, you said Prism.
Prism. Yes.
Is that an acronym or is it the name of a company?
That is the name of the company. Prism.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure everybody was awake.
Yeah. See, I lost my train of thought. So we, they're working with our pharmacy benefit manager and have identified a new list of eligible employees and drugs. So they'll be reaching out to try to get employees to work with the program and maybe even increase our savings there on those specialty drugs. We're already into the new wellness screening season. Those will be coming up starting the end of February. We did a solicitation program. We went and got quotes for wellness screenings to make sure we're staying competitive for that program. St. Pete's did come in as the most competitive again in both the screenings and the administration of our program. In fact, they actually just sent us a revised contract basically to reduce the cost of our screenings by $5. We have been at this price for gosh, probably 7 years at least for the cost of these screenings, and they're going down for next year. So that was, we thought, a really good outcome. Oh, and Emily just launched our new, for 2026, what's called the Continuous Wellness Program. So really trying to get that in the front of mind for our employees and give education opportunities to improve health, both short-term and long-term. The program, the Continuous Well program, there's a monthly focus on a topic and opportunities for education through webinars, maybe in-person classes, tracking, opportunities as well for nutrition and physical activity. So February's focus is nutrition. You should have seen that email yesterday. And then as far as safety, we got stuff going on. We have Brandi that's been doing our Stop the Bleed classes. Did several of those in the month of January, and she'll keep doing those as needed and on an annual basis. And we also had the security committee for the city-county building. This is to kind of mirror the security committee that was at the courthouse. It's made of both city and county employees. For the county, there's representatives from each floor in the county building. And we also have the sergeant that supervises the deputy that does security at the courthouse. So he is also on to kind of help navigate, talk about protocol and things like that. They had their first meeting, and their takeaway from that first meeting was to go back to the people they represent and get feedback on just input on ways to improve protocol, procedures, things to improve. We are doing the HR talk still, but we've moved that to every other month instead of monthly. Our November talk was about generations in the workplace and just navigating the challenge that come with having 5 generations in the workplace. We also did that same talk with all of the corporals, sergeants, lieutenants, undersheriff at the sheriff's office as well by request. And then January, Kenny did November, or the January HR Talks was on building a culture of safety. And then I just wanted to do a quick recap on recruitment and retention for the calendar year of 2025. We managed 99 recruitments throughout the year. We brought on 87 new hires, which actually seems like a lot, but it was down from 127 the prior year. We had 67 of those that were regular employees, or an additional 2 for seasonal hires, and then 18 of those were either temporary employees or short-term hires. So the vast majority of those are regular status employees. We processed 77 terminations. Of that, we only had 7 retirements for Lewis and Clark County in the calendar year. So that number is definitely declining as our workforce is getting a little bit younger. And then we had, of those terminations, 72 of those were either regular status or seasonal hires. So that's all I have for today. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions from the commission? One I would like to just kind of look at the health, our health plan. How do you feel good about it at this point? We took a pretty heavy hit last year that we had to raise some tax in order to cover it, and I'm just wondering how you feel that we're doing compared to last year overall, and what the prospects are.
Well, I would say we're doing equally as good as last year. So we met with our actuary actually last Thursday, and he gave us our numbers and projections and recommendations for contribution increases. But we're still substantially behind, and it's going to take us probably 3 to 4 years to get to the point where we build the reserves necessary to comfortably and fully fund our health plan. So we do expect an equal increase that we had last year. The good news is where nationally the trend for health plan claims are at least 10%, where we're sitting less than 5% or even equal right now. So we feel positive about what's happening on our plan, but we have a long catch-up process. Does that answer your question?
All right.
May I add one
Thank you.
more thing to that, Mr.
Sure.
Chair? Thank you very much, Carrie. So, Commissioner, we are anticipating as we get into the budget this year of recommending continuing what's called the permissive tax levy, which I think is part of what you might have been referring to. And this is fresh because Carrie and Frank Cornwell and myself talk about it on a regular basis. Our claims continue to exceed our rates. If you'll remember, we brought in that third-party expert to take a look at that for us. And just as a reminder, also on our group health plan, we have a number of other agencies, such as MACO, MBAC, PureView, in addition to our own organization. So just a reminder of a few of those things, but you began by asking about, I think, taxes, and we are anticipating the need to utilize that permissive tax levy into the future. I just wanted to mention that.
You bet.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Any other? All right. Well, I was just going to suggest that maybe we ought to take about a 10-minute break, and we'll be back, and then the next one up will be extension service. We'll be back. Let's see. Why don't we come back right at what, 10, about 10 minutes after 10. Okay. All right. Let's get on with departments. Let's start this section with the extension service. Is the green light on there?
There. Is that better? Hi.
There you go.
Alicia Schmidt, Lewis and Clark County Extension. Thank you for the break. I want to echo what Commissioner Hunthausen was saying earlier. You know, you have a very prideful moment after you hear everybody working together. But, you know, we work with the budget office, we work with HR, we work with IT, we work with the fairgrounds. Like, we all are, you know, part of that fabric that keeps everybody together. So, in grants and procurement too, everybody's over the moon about the playground. So that's exciting work for us up at Extension. So thank you all for working with us and supporting us. I think I have IT on speed dial, but but they keep us rolling. So that's really great. We're never down for very long with them in the wings. As you can see with my update for you, Chloe Lindquist continues to be the Montana SNAP Education Program Liaison. She's helping to sunset that program for us. She's assisted the offices with various projects with the SNAP program. She's also developed a few PowerPoints to help other SNAP education individuals close down their programs. And she's attended the Kids Nutrition Coalition meeting. So she's continuing to work with various groups out of our office. Sophia Franzlubers has been very busy. She has a waiting list for her Master Gardener program. It's a 10-week program. It's 25 individuals that go through a book about this big, and they learn everything about gardening in Montana. They're 2 weeks into the 10-week program. It's about 2.5 hours, but with Q&A, they're there well into 8 o'clock at night talking about gardening. Last week, they did a thing where they did a potluck and brought different fruits in their potluck. And then they put them in order as to when they would be harvested throughout the state. So that was a fun little activity they did on top of the training session itself. And Jen from Teton County has been coming down to help assist with that class as well, because she would like to model her program off of ours. So we're definitely sharing the knowledge there with gardening. She's also been working with the nitrate and hay quality testing groups, as well as answering several calls that come into the office. And people come in with all sorts of different things. So within seconds, she has to basically put together a class for them on what their questions are. And those conversations can last anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. So she does a great job with that. This year, she logged at least 40 of those calls, or this month, I should say, for January. She's been working with MDA for an apiary and pollinator specialist identification program for soil sampling on a 60-acre pollinator program that they're working with 10 Mile Creek. Did I
Excuse me.
too quickly?
I have a question. MDA, you mentioned that she was working with MDA. Could you, is that the Montana
Montana.
Drug Association or the
No, Montana Department of,
administration?
yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There's so many
And-
acronyms.
Yes.
I know, and
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
confused.
I'm
And,
glad you did ask me about Chloe's. Hers are about this long.
and if you could speak more slowly,
I would.
certainly be
Yes.
able to follow you better.
Yes,
Thank you.
I will be happy to. Thank you. So yes, she has worked with MDA for the apiary and pollinator specialist to identify proper soil sampling techniques in a 60-acre pollinator project near 10 Mile Creek. So she has been very busy. In addition to the work that Sophia and Chloe are doing, Jane Willery is also in our office. She is working with Family and Consumer Sciences as well as Community Vitality. She is not here today. She's working on a Strong People program. She teaches that class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's 15 to 20 people, and she teaches them how to work out more effectively, gets them out and about. And she also does extension extras, where she does small lessons within the programming on things that are going on in MSU Extension. She taught a Real Colors Personality Inventory and Insight program with Teton County. And she's been coordinating refresher training for the Youth Awareness and Mental Health program. It's called YAM, and will assist with the program in East Helena starting, I think she starts today, actually. And she's recruiting additional instructors for that program. My favorite subject is 4-H. And we have been in the downtime of 4-H, but it doesn't really feel like it. We're wrapping up our enrollment programs. We have about 500 members enrolled. We've managed to have a camp retreat for our camp counselors to educate them on camp safety and different programming that we'll be doing for the campers this summer. We've coordinated subject matter expert. I don't know if you are familiar with Brett Rader. He was in Time Magazine. He'll be coming down to talk about sheep and goat markets, emerging markets, existing markets for both meat and non-meat related products. He'll be teaching that class for us in March. So we coordinated that effort. He's with MSU Extension as well. He's marketing. We've been doing a quality assurance training class. This is a class that all 4-H members have to take throughout all of Montana. And that class is going to be taught by subject matter experts in water quality with the USGS. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and Livestock will be teaching a portion of it, as well as veterinary sciences. So the kids are aware of what they need to do to take care of their animals. This is a mandatory class for all members attending the outdoor side of our house. We also have Communications Day coming up. That's going to be in March. We're always looking for judges. If anyone would like to be a judge for Communications Day, it's where we get the battle of the brains, and they're kind of like a science fair, but they get to teach different topics that are interesting to them for 4-H. So some kids do sewing, some kids do rabbits, some kids do different topics. And that is going to be held at East Valley Middle School. And we are also participating in ambassador training, leadership training. The kids attended a training down in Butte, and then they brought their training back to the BHB and shared it out with all of our members that wanted to attend over Martin Luther King. So they did leadership training on that day where they were off of school. It's a 5-hour class, and they walked through various workshops and stations to discuss leadership at their ages and stages. We're also doing several fundraisers. I think we have a spaghetti feed this weekend, if you would like to attend that. And then we're also doing the world's best chocolate. So if you would like chocolate for your Valentine, feel free to stop by the extension office. Lastly, we had a fantastic showing for our sport shooting invitational this couple weekends ago at the fairgrounds. And I arguably have one of the best programs. Everybody loves attending our shooting sports invitational. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of space. It's well paced, it's well managed, it's very highly attended. They have 3-dimensional. They turn one section into like a forest, so the kids get to come in and practice shooting against 3-dimensional targets and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. We had a big showing for that. So it's a good time up at the extension office.
You said 500, over 500 kids involved. What are the ages? Most of
8 to 18.
8 to 18. And how many 4-H clubs are there?
I think there's 15 or 16, and that's from Augusta down to, all over. Our East Helena programs are our fastest growing programs. Those are really popular. But they're all growing and moving, and everyone's shifting to different areas. So there's probably, 30 to 50 members per club. And you attend your club meeting once a month, and then you attend your project meetings.
How many animals are getting ready for the 4-H sale?
Just tagged our steer this past January. So we had 93, I think, steer for that. So that's a bumper crop of steer. So that program is really going full bore. In East Helena, they helped us with some panels. The school there, the kids in the welding program helped us create additional panels. So we'll have safety in mind with all the different animals and have them all pinned in appropriately during fair. So it's a lot of prep time. So, but it's all good. It's fun.
All right.
We have over 200 swine. I think we have 57. What do we have there? 57 goats and sheep. I think the rabbit program is in the 30s, poultry as well. So that side's going really well. The leathercraft program and the baking and canning programs are going gangbusters as well. We have 65 kids in those programs. So
A lot of those things will be on display at the at the fair.
Yeah.
4-H sale.
yeah, Gruber Masonry actually just gifted us about $2,000 worth of granite strike plates for the leather crafting program. So when the kids are practicing making their coasters and their things, they use these granite strike plates to make sure they're not damaging the tables, and then they get a clean strike when they're, making a design into their leather work and things. So we have a lot of support from our community.
And what is 4-H weekend at the fairgrounds?
It's the third week of July, always. And everyone's invited. You've been cordially invited by the 4-H agent to come down to the fairgrounds.
All right. Great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Next is Criminal Justice Services.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Kelly McBride. I'm the Director of your Department of Criminal Justice Services. And just a couple of over high-level points. One, I think, is super important. On Friday, this coming Friday, Casey Woolers will graduate from the Academy as a pretrial and misdemeanor probation officer. Her graduation is at 10 o'clock in the governor's office. So pretty exciting. All of our pretrial officers are post-certified. They spend 6 weeks at the academy, and it's 8 hours a day. It's pretty intensive, and it's exciting to have her graduate as one of our officers. Next, last week you accepted a technical assistance opportunity from Advancing Pretrial Policy and Research, which is APPR for short. That APPR opportunity I wanted to share, we learned yesterday, it was the kickoff meeting, and we learned that there were 15 applicants for technical assistance and only 8 of us were chosen. And our technical assistance person, I think said about 5 times what an excellent application we submitted. So just wanted to throw that out. We're starting the process. We'll have 12 weeks of very intensive technical assistance looking at pretrial in Lewis and Clark County, how we do things now, how we can do things better, maybe where we should stop doing something. I'm just excited to know what we can do best for our community. So thank you again for accepting that opportunity. And thank you, Commissioner, for leading that process as well. So I'm going to move on to data. This month, this is her 4th week, and I'm so excited to have her, and just pretty honored for the county to have Emily Bueller. She is, her doctorate is in data analysis or statistical analysis, and she is digging into all of the systems, all of our data. She's already found some data that she was not able to validate, and we've pulled that back. She's digging in so that we're ensuring that any numbers that we're putting out are correct. Our first public-facing dashboard priority will be a daily detention population snapshot. And once we finalize the correct reporting methods, we'll follow with overtime demographic dashboards. So that's what we're hitting the ground first with. She's meeting with, again, I think the theme throughout this meeting has been how well all of the departments work together. So Emily will be working with the sheriff's office detention staff this week. Also working with Scott O'Connell, who's with the 911 center, city and county. So digging in and getting those dashboards for you. Staffing stabilization. I'm very pleased to share that our court services and diversion group, which is pretrial, our misdemeanor probation program, all of the work that we do to divert folks from the detention center, we're fully staffed as of February 12th. So we've offered the court services and diversion assistant position, and that has been accepted, and she will start on the 12th. The last position we have to fill is our data coordinator, and we're right now scheduling interviews for that position, and then we will be fully staffed. We continue to see strong system collaboration, including the recent Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting where we had individuals from the state of Montana Office of Court Administrator, or OCA, came and presented how they work with us and how they prepare the public safety assessment. That is the tool that the judges use to determine how someone will be released from the detention center. And they were able to answer questions. There were some very, I thought, strong, hard-hitting questions, and they were able to answer those questions. There was good dialogue at the meeting. And lastly, I will say, and this is exciting, and it kind of goes back to what I started with pretrial, we will be bringing before you next week a contract with the National Association of Pretrial Service Agencies so that we can have our pretrial program accredited. What that accreditation means is that when you're out talking about Lewis and Clark County's pretrial services program, you know that it meets the highest mark possible. There's also some funding opportunities that come with having an accredited program. So staff is excited to start working with the NAPSA folks and getting our program accredited. And again, that will come before you, a contract with NAPSA. Next week will be on your agenda. And that's what I'm going to leave you with, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions?
Would it be facetious to ask if, because we have an accredited program, and I'm thinking about schools, if a kid goes to an accredited, so if we have an accredited program here, does that give the people you serve a leg up as being better pretrial served? They're less likely to recidivism. That's it. If they're in an accredited program, is there less likely to be recidivism, or do you know, or is that not something anybody really looks at?
I love that question. I had not even considered that. I will say that being accredited does help guarantee that those individuals we will be serving better. I would be curious to see what the data shows if accredited programs, I would assume, have better results, only because we're following the pretrial research goes back to the early 1970s, and the accreditation standards have been developed as researchers have looked at what works best. We already are doing what works best. We're pretty sure, 95% sure. And this accreditation will make us 100% sure that we're doing that. So I would have to look at numbers to tell you the answer to that, but I would say anecdotally, absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Hunthausen? Yeah, you know, you're the guru.
Wait. Why is he the guru? I'm the oldest.
You can be the guru. Mr. Chair, no, just appreciation to Kelly. And as she described, I think our initiation meeting for the technical assistance opportunity that's coming our way this year was good. And staff's excited, I think. Community members that are participating are excited. I think we'll have a great opportunity to really take the program to the next level, if you will, and really look under the rocks and behind the curtain, see what we're missing or what we might be able to do better and improve. So it's good. All good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's go on. Public Works and Planning. Jenny.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Public Works and Planning Department Director. In my monthly reports, I provide a lot of detailed reports that I certainly can't cover all today, so I'll just hit some of the highlights. We're working on several grant application, grant startups, and implementation of projects. So a couple grant applications we're working on. One of those is in partnership with GIS Department, both planning and public works staff, is to submit a grant application to the Montana Geospatial Information Advisory Grant, which is at the Montana State Library, and it's a geospatial grant opportunity where we can maybe get funding to support a long-standing issue across the county to designate what our roads are in the county that are county roads. So as you guys have heard, we have talked about a lot of roads that are they a county road? Is it not a county road? It is a road that we maintain, but may or may not be a county road. So we have looked at the road prioritization plan and those that are above the 35 score on the ones that we believe we're going to continue to maintain. We want to get the documentation and proof that it is indeed a county road, that we would bring a resolution in front of you to declare those county roads. So it's a pretty wonderful grant opportunity. We think we can get through all of our 35 lists and above. We have started to do some of this work internally. It has just been taking a lot of time. We did launch a pilot program through a limited solicitation, and they're spending about $12,000 to get a surveying company, engineering firm to help us with some of these roads. And then that pilot program is what we're using to launch this grant application. So we can get more done in the future. So we're excited about that. That's due February 25th. So you'll be seeing that grant application very, very shortly on that project. Another one is a Homeland Security grant, working on a presentation to the Local Emergency Planning Commission to submit a grant application for adding a generator backup plant power to our public works shop facilities and our fuel island. That includes our outlying district as well. So that'd be Wolf Creek, Augusta, Lincoln, and our public works shop complex, and then also the fuel island. With some of the recent wind events and some of the emergency situations we've seen, it's apparent that we're going to need backup generating power at those facilities long term. So up in Lincoln, when we had the wind event that emergency services discussed, there was no power in Lincoln for a short time at the Lincoln shop. We would not have been able to get the equipment out of that shop without a generator. So we luckily didn't need to use our equipment at the time of the emergency when the power was out, but it identified a concern and something that we need to rectify in the future to get just a small backup generator just to get the door open at that shop facility moving forward. So we're going to expand that to all the locations and make sure we have backup generating power in the case of emergency moving forward. Hopefully we'll get the grant, or hopefully we'll find other funding sources to make that happen. So those are some grant applications. We also are working on some startup grants, on grants that we received. One of those is, as you guys are aware of, is the Augusta Clemens Bridge. This was funded by the Montana Coal Endowment Program and Senate Bill 536. I just want to highlight, mainly for the public that may be listening, that's about a $1.4 million project, and it's 100% grant funded. So it's a pretty exciting effort. We're working on the grant startup paperwork, and a procurement for getting a consultant on board to help us with that design and construction of that project. In addition, we are also working on the courthouse elevator grant startup project that we had received as well. Working on, I think on this Thursday, you guys are going to see for your presentation a change in the process on procurement with that project. We would like to do an alternative design build to try to expedite getting a design firm and somebody that can do the construction at the same time on that project for procurement. So it hopefully expedites the impacts we have on the courthouse and the operations of that courthouse. As you can recall, we do believe that this is going to be a 4 to 6 month construction period where that elevator is going to be out. So it just is a huge, how do we expedite the design? How do we expedite the construction? How do we get it done safely? And how do we manage the logistics of the operation of that building as we move forward? So that's underway and working on the grant start up paperwork for that as well. And the last one I was going to discuss that we're actually working on towards implementation of a project was a grant we received on for Senate Bill 536 funding for the Craig River Bridge. Construction is scheduled for mid-April to repair and approach road settlement on both ends. So that bridge will have we anticipate a 2-week closure on that bridge. We've worked with that community and some of the tourism folks in that area, and they recommended that April would be the best time of year to do that work. So that's why we're scheduling the April timeframe. We will have reader boards in place, and we're also going to have a public meeting in April in the Craig community to talk about that bridge project and that potential closure moving forward. In addition, at the April meeting in Craig, we're going to partner with FWP and also provide a public update on the fish access site, which is supposed to be getting done underway this summer as well. So it'll be kind of a tag team effort on that public outreach effort. So that's moving forward. Some other procurements underway that we're working on that also are going to lead to projects is we did an RFP, request for proposal for the solid waste scratch gravel transfer site. We're just in contract negotiations now on that project and kind of thinking what that timing of that project is going to be moving forward. So that's a big one underway. Another one is a municipal separate storm sewer system. This is the management plan request for qualifications and the work group that we have formed internally within the county, which is both public health, planning, public works, and finance, is working on those contract negotiations on implementation of that program as well. So that was a team type project. We also have the mosquito surveillance and abatement program request for proposal. It closed yesterday, and they're reviewing and scoring applications this week. And then the mosquito board members are meeting Friday to work through those proposals. So that's another one that's important to the county and certainly in the spring and summer season. A few other updates. One I know you guys have been following is the joint infrastructure study and planning. They're at the final stages of the alternatives, the cost estimates, and the final future conditions report. It should be completed by March of 2026. So we're just wrapping that project up here shortly. Also, the subdivision regulations are almost in their final draft. Lindsay Morgan is working with the planning board right now as a working sessions on those subdivision regulations. And then we'll be sending it to legal review and some stakeholders kind of informally to get some more feedback. Certainly legal is not informal. The legal input is going to be valuable. And then we'll start the formal public comment process after we get a good draft ready to go for that public sharing approach. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to highlight something from 2025 that kind of shows some statistics of things that have happened within the county. So county and statewide, there have been a lot of increase in utility and fiber optic work. For instance, you have seen when you drive around the county all of the fiber optic work going on with all the broadband money that's been employed at the state. We have an excavation permit program that's required for disturbing and excavating ground that's next to the road right away. In 2022, just to give you some statistics, the county issued 3 excavation permits, 3 in 2022. 2023, we issued 22. 2022 was the year that Public Works requested that Northwest Energy and other public utilities submit permits for the work in our road right away. So that's the first year that was really implemented, that like, please provide us these permits. You're doing work that impacts the schedule of us doing work. We need to know when you're in these areas, and we're starting to get complaints based upon the work that you're doing. So 2023 was 22 permits. 2024 was 47 permits. And then in 2025, there were 62 excavation permits issued. And when I say 62, that does not necessarily mean 62 locations. Sometimes we issue a permit for a subdivision area. It might be 4 or 5 roads within that subdivision area for that one permit. So like Stallion Ridge would have been one permit for Stallion Ridge for the fiber optic companies to get in there and do that work. Many of these remain open from 2025 and 2024. We are actively working with them with those companies to visit locations to say where you have to do cleanup work, where we've got complaints, where work needs to move forward. So it's been a large effort to oversee those excavation permits, and we're not closing them until the work is satisfactory to putting it back to the way it was prior to them going in there and doing that disturbance. So we anticipate this is going to continue, and it's going to be a major topic at MACRS, the Montana Association of County Road Supervisors, because this is an issue statewide. So I just want to highlight those numbers. So in 2022, there was 3. In 2025, there was 62. So a large number. The last thing I want to show is a cool tool. And it's also one to highlight the GIS work and the support that they provide the county as a whole. We have launched a citizen reporter tool at the county that I'm going to walk through and show you what that particular tool is for public transparency and just increase in helping with public reporting.
And if you need help with that, I can see James is still here.
Yeah, James or Eric is still here. Definitely helpful. So, yep. So if you go to the main county webpage on Lewis and Clark County, you go down here below and it just says report it. You click on report it. And it brings up the citizen problem reporter. We added a disclaimer because we don't want folks to just use this reporting tool if it's an emergency situation. If like a wind event, if there was a tree blocking a road, or if we had a stop sign down or something like that, we would just like folks to call 911. So it immediately goes to our on-call folks, and then that situation can be addressed. But for other things like a pothole or a sign that might be just damaged or a guardrail that's been hit, they can use this problem reporting tool. So again, it just provides you a reminder, please call 911. If it's in Helena or East Helena, go to their respective applications to report it. But if it's within the county jurisdiction or within a rural improvement district, they can use this particular platform. So again, very similar to the 911 situation. Kind of hard to navigate here when I'm looking at the. You see there that there's the different colored locations. So folks can go to the location and specifically highlight one particular area that they were reporting. So if we narrow in on that particular issue that was reported, it says a very large pothole on the corner of Lincoln Road and Grand Valley. It also allows them folks to upload pictures if they wanted to, or other things to kind of show that area. So when it's submitted, it shows a different color. Then when we receive it, it shows a different color. And then we highlight when it's in progress. For instance, if we have to order a sign, or we have to wait for the asphalt plant to come open to get that pothole replaced, then it shows in progress. If it's completed, this particular one is in MDT maintenance jurisdiction. So the resolution that was provided back to this public was staff will notify MDT maintenance as it falls within MDT's jurisdiction. And then thank you for letting us know. We also thank them for letting us know based upon these issues. So it is just a fast way to show the ability for folks to report the problem. They can provide their name and phone number, and we can call them back and follow up. It provides different colors. It's also going to allow me to show you a dashboard of the number of calls and things we get. After 7 days of them being completed, they drop off of this particular map. So what you see here is only what's been probably reported within the last week or so as far as progress. So we did a soft launch on January 12th. We just released this public on January 26th. And you see, this has only been open for about a week or so from the public, and we're already getting some reports. The other thing it shows is we help for efficiencies, is that if somebody goes on this map and sees that it's reported, then they know that it's been reported and been received. Oftentimes we would get 4 or 5 calls with the same pothole when we were already aware that that pothole existed. So it's just another tool that we're using for the public to kind of show that information and display it. So
Wonderful. All right.
that's what I had today. Thank you.
Give people a chance to report something and not have to try to find the right person to talk to.
That's correct. And also see the status of where that is in the tracking and how we're trying to resolve that issue.
All right. Good. Any questions? All right. I think that's going to be a great opportunity and place for people to get their questions answered. Very good. Let's see. Nobody from Fairgrounds here, I don't believe, or Health Department, but let's go on to Finance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Frank Cornwell, County CFO. Just quick update from Finance. I'll give you a small little story. So first of all, on my first day, I found out there was something that my predecessor left me on my desk, and it was a signed contract for a new ERP system or enterprise system for accounting for the county, and a brand new system, which means lots of work. So we were basically told by our legacy system at the time that our Central Square AS400, as we all know it as, is that it was time to move off of it. They were likely to stop supporting it, and it didn't meet our needs when it came to the fund number structure at the time. We were running out of fund numbers. There was only 3 digits, and we needed 4. Especially when bringing on new RIDs, which each get their own fund and division. And we were running out of funds, so it was getting really difficult to account for all these funds. And also, the legacy system was 20 plus years old, and it just didn't have the abilities of a more modern system. So my predecessor, Nancy Everson, decided to go with the same company, but their more modern platform, which is called Finance Enterprise, which is what we refer to as FE. So you'll hear a lot of FE references going forward, as opposed to AS400. So we moved off of AS400 into FE. The timing of that had been pushed out a few times, actually 2.5 times, I would say. So it's very difficult to do these migrations, and I've heard many horror stories out when I'm out talking to my cohorts out there that are also CFOs and accounting managers, and a lot of times these can take 5, 6, 7 years, and it's very, very difficult to do these. Well, there was a suggestion at the end of this year, we were supposed to do the migration, that we should do the migration mid-year. And it dawned on us, like, that sounds like a great idea. We never thought of that, because at the end of every fiscal year, as you know, we're dealing with budgets, we're dealing with closing the books and developing an annual report, and also being audited. So there's a lot going on. So we did a mid-year conversion. So that's why I say 2.5 years of postponement on this. And it was completed on January 1st going forward. This is no small task. I just to reiterate, this was huge. We have 2 years of transactional data into the new system, and we're currently using a new ERP system, and we're still working through some kinks and little errors here and there, which is actually not that big of a deal. I've kind of teed up everybody to know that this was going to be very, very difficult. You're going to run into a lot of issues, likely due to the horror stories I've heard out in other local governments worlds. And knock on wood, and we haven't closed our first month because Jen Garber, our accounting manager, who's been essential in this conversion, has done an amazing job. She's currently working on closing the books for January. That'll be the first big step for for this new system, outside of getting folks to utilize it. It's been a huge success. I said that our number one focus when we switch over, we need to be able to pay our employees, pay our vendors, and be able to record the cash that comes in. And we were able to do that. We all held our breath the first time we printed checks. We all held our breath once we were able to record those cash receipts into the system. We all held our breath especially when it came to paying our employees. And also Carrie DeRozier and her team has been essential in that conversion, migrating Kronos into FE. And I'm sure I'm missing lots of folks out there, the Misty Edwards, Marnie, and the Jen Garber's team just worked very, very hard to get this done. And we're already seeing benefits from using this new system. If you aren't afraid of softwares, this is one that allows you to generate certain analytics that we've never had before, reporting that we've never had before, a little bit of more transparency that maybe the old system made it a little bit more difficult to go in and run reports out of it. If you remember, it was a DOS, it was a green screen environment, which it reminds me of doing Oregon Trail when I was a kid. So we've moved away from doing Oregon Trail world into a more of a .NET where you see like a software, you would see it online. So this has been a huge transition, and it only is going to get better. We're just scratching the surface. Right now, we're just making sure that we can do the reports that we've done before. And as we get more comfortable, it's going to get more and more powerful. When the commission wants to see certain analytics, there might be quicker ways, more. I would say the formatting is actually better, easier to read. You guys have seen the new approval list for expenses. I believe that's a much easier report to read. And that's just scratching the surface when it comes to the available reporting that we have in this system. We're currently migrating that old system in with our new OpenGov platform, which is our budgeting platform. That is ongoing. It's going really well. We're moving into data validation there. So the staff and folks that are now going to be looking to build their budgets, because it is officially budget season, and we will be sending out our budget message today. The folks will be able to use OpenGov, but OpenGov is going to have the new chart of accounts that we have now converted. All the finance folks are very aware of the new chart of accounts. If they have any questions, they can come to me or Jen Garber. But just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that immense lift and achievement that our accounting team and all the finance team folks out in department land have worked very hard to accomplish, and looking forward to utilizing it to its fullest going forward. And also just a reminder, we're just now kicking off our budget season, so everyone's going to be gearing for it. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
One of the things that I was really impressed with is as you moved into the new system, it changed the report when we look over about all the checks you're writing every week or every other week, and you were able to respond and change and give us the information that I'd ask for much more efficiently than I ever dreamed. So it must be a good system to be able to make that change as easily as you did.
It's much more user friendly from my perspective, and I'm sure nobody likes change, so there's some hiccups here and there, but from my perspective, from a reporting perspective, it is much more efficient and much more powerful. So that's just that we're just getting started with what we can produce out of there.
I think it's important, when our constituents come to us and have a question about how much you're spending doing this or that, for us to be able to get to that. And it sounds like it's going to be easier to respond to questions that about when and if and how much and that sort of thing. So
absolutely, yes.
All right. Any other questions for Frank?
Not a question, Mr. Chair, but a comment. And you've said this multiple times, but this was a huge lift and a big deal, and it's a really big deal. I mean, this is like we're flying a whole new airplane here. And so I've tried to get around, as far as I know, to those that were the main parties that had to really be up to snuff to help this transition happen, and thank them and recognize the significance of this. But it was huge, and there's so many that have been involved, and try to get down to the training sessions and say hello to people and tell them thank you. But it's a big deal, and it's not only a big deal for the transition and what it can do and how it's moving us forward, but it was a big effort for those that had to be in charge of the transition, and then those that have to use the system every day. It's like learning a new language a little bit. And so they've had this added to their plates. And I just want to recognize how hard everybody's worked to get us to this point. And as you said, we anticipated likely a lot more bugs than we're having and a lot more challenges than we're having. And other communities that have done this have had a lot more challenges. So kudos to all of you and the team, and just really appreciate the work that's been done. This was a really big lift, and folks have done a great job, and try and get around to those that have missed, but hopefully folks know how, I just recognize how big this is. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Chair. Just before I forget, because you just reminded me, Amy Reeves and Roger Nordahl, our former accounting manager, were also very essential in getting this converted over. Roger, before he left or retired, he developed our new chart of accounts, thousands of lines of data that he went through and converted. And he came over yesterday and came and looked at the new system. I said, you want to try it out, Roger? And he said, nope. Just was happy to hear that it was working.
All right. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate your management, and I really appreciate the fact that when I've got a nerdy question to ask, you're able to get to the bottom of it.
I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. Any others? Any other comments or whatnot? Roger, do you have anything to kind of wrap up the session here?
No, thanks, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Just really appreciate the reports from our leadership today who was here. They do a great job for us. You can tell when people care about what they're doing, and I think that we see that reflected. I see it all the time in the way we do our jobs around here. I did want to mention, Commissioners, we've really, it's been said 3 or 4 times, but this financial project you just heard about is the most significant financial project in many, many years that we've undertaken. And Frank Cornwell's leadership, Amy Reeves, Misty Edwards, Jen Gerber have been mentioned, but also we have our financial team of people that are dispersed throughout the county. So they deserve a lot of acknowledgement and a lot of credit. They did a great job. So I want to add my thank you to them for the good work they did. And Commissioners, I know we talk about this, but sometimes we don't focus that much on it. But if you'll remember, the goals and objectives of the County Commission are to develop and maintain a culture of customer service, engage in long-range planning, improve communications between departments, community partners, and the general public, and efficiently and effectively manage public resources. I think the reports today, I hope that you found them reflective of reflecting those very goals and objectives that we have as a part of our organization. So, Commissioners, I thought I would mention a couple of other things that maybe didn't come up today. One of them is, I think you know that kind of a unique thing that's going on is that a piece of property we own called the Margaret Stewart Home has been vacated, and we'll be working on that. We're securing that building until we decide what will become of that. Montana Youth Homes has been in there for a long, long time, many years, and they've decided to terminate their operations. I think you're aware of that, but that's going on out there. We also have another working group right now that is working on a piece of property that we call the annex property. It's the 9 acres that's located beside the fairgrounds. You've recently approved a contract for us to evaluate the condition of the roughly 14 structures that are on that property. There will be a report that will be forthcoming in the future to you as we continue to work on that. We do have that working group that's doing that work. And commissioners, I think everything else has been touched on. I guess I would just say, the important resource we have is our employees. And I think the reports today you heard reflect that. And we're trying to pursue what's moving forward. I did want to build on what Frank Cornwell said real quickly. Last thing, Frank mentioned the budget message is going to be going out. And just like in past years, there will be an emphasis on maintaining the existing level of service that we provide to our citizens, addressing some of the challenges we have, like unfunded mandates that we have to deal with, dealing with the ongoing challenge of not only health insurance, but the cost of property insurance that we have as an organization too. But we'll be diving into all of that in the coming weeks as we get into our budget routine. So that's all I have for you today, Commissioners. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions or thoughts about the reports that we've received? I
have one comment that when Frank was up speaking, he mentioned that they'd been working on getting this new program in place, and I thought he said for 2.5 years. And I'm thinking of all the technological growth there has been in the last 2.5 years. And so maybe we're implementing this new program and it's already outdated because, and I think it's just the nature of the beast, but it's an ongoing, you've got to constantly fight to keep up with progress. Anyway, I'm so glad we have a good group of people to turn to when I'm lost in this technology.
You bet. And I want to thank all of you department managers for being here. I think it's important that we know what's going on in our in the other departments, and the fact that you took the time to listen to the other managers' reports is a very positive thing. So we have a better understanding of how what we do affects the rest of the organization. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the diligence with which you do your jobs, and onward and upward. We do have one more item. If there's no other comments, we'll have one more item on our agenda. And that, Mr. Baltz, you want to bring that up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item 3B on the agenda today. I'll read it into the record for your consideration. You have the backup memo. It's a board appointment, and the candidates you're going to be discussing today meet the qualifications for the board under consideration. It's the Forest Vale Historic Preservation Committee. This is a 5-member board. There is one vacancy on the board. John Palmquist applied. There were no other applicants, and under action, staff recommends that the commission consider the applicant to a partial term that will expire August 31, 2028. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this matter? Is there any public comment on this matter? There being none, can we have a motion?
Chair Rolfe, I move that we approve the partial term order to have John Palmquist appointed to the board of the Forest Vale Historic Preservation Committee as discussed by Roger Balls.
Second.
Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion from the commission? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We've arrived at the end of our regular agenda, but we always reserve time for public comment on any public matter within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There being none, we're adjourned.